Welcome to the Academic Woman Amplified podcast. I'm your host, Kathy Mazak, tenured full professor, mom of three, and firm believer that the culture of academia needs to change radically. Women are revolutionizing academia within institutions that were not built for us. If you're ready to reject the culture of overwork, kick guilt and overwhelm to the curb, and amplify your voice to make a real impact on your field without breaking down or burning out, you're in the right place. And it all starts with writing. Let's go. Have you ever done professional development? Through our universities and our professional organizations, we do have opportunities as academics to do professional development. But sometimes I feel like academics get professional development wrong. And I don't mean you. I mean people who are offering the professional development. Academics are very used to one-off trainings. So webinars and workshops are right within our comfort level. This is how our universities often offer training, and we often find this kind of training at professional conferences, sometimes in a pre-conference meeting. It's pretty typical to go someplace, take a workshop, or have a university put on a workshop that you sign up for and go to. Well, here's the problem with one-off trainings as professional development. There's no follow-through or follow-up, because they happen just once. Maybe it's a 1-hour workshop, maybe a 2-hour workshop. There's no follow-up. There's nothing to go back and touch back later. And there's often no relationship with the leader of the professional development and or with the participants. They might be your colleagues, they might not, but there's no continued relationship in many cases. The result of this is that one-off trainings put all the onus on you. And if you can't implement, follow through, or maintain what you learned in that training, you're kind of blamed. It's like your fault for not being able to go to a 1-hour workshop about how to get your writing done and then still not be able to find time in your schedule for writing. We at my company here that is right now called Kathy Mazak LLC, and we are a professional development company where we offer writing coaching and writing programs for academic women. We're working on transforming professional development for academic women. We don't want you to experience a one-off download of one-size-fits-all ideas or strategies. What good professional development will do, we think, is combine teaching, coaching, and community. So let me dig into what has made me come to that conclusion and highlight why taking one-off professional development workshops might not have worked for you in the past. So I've been in academia since 1998 when I started my MA TESOL, and TESOL is Teaching English to Speakers of Other Languages. I started my MA TESOL at the University of Arizona in Tucson. That was the first time I stepped into a college classroom. I taught first-year writing, and also when I began my career as a researcher. Upon graduation from U of A, I started working full-time teaching at the English Language Center at Michigan State University under the direction of Dr. Sue Gass. Dr. Sue Gass is a leading researcher in second language acquisition. After about 3 years there, I started a PhD at MSU in critical studies in the teaching of English under the direction of renowned applied linguist and now Professor Emeritus, Dr. Geneva Smitherman. At the end of my PhD work, I won, a prestigious Spencer Dissertation Fellowship for my research on English language literacy in a rural community in central Puerto Rico. Directly out of the PhD, I got my dream job at the University of Puerto Rico at Mayagüez, where I earned tenure and full, and I brought in over $500,000 in grant funding to an English department, which is kind of rare. And I also co-founded a research center. Oh, and by the way, had 3 kids. So I'm not saying all of this to toot my own horn, although I'm all for self-horn tooting. So I want you to go out there and proclaim your awesomeness and own all those milestones, right? All those things that have formed you as a scholar. But I'm telling you this to explain to you the context in which in 2017, I founded a small business offering professional development courses and programs centered around writing to academic women. And this year, the academic year 2019-2020, I'm on unpaid leave of absence to develop the business full time. So when I think back on all my years in the world of academia, I hardly remember any content from one-off trainings that I took. Instead, what I remember are the relationships that I developed along the way. I remember seeing the day-to-day life of Sue Gass as she sifted through 3-foot stacks of books piled around her office. They're books that had been submitted to the SLA, the Second Language Acquisition Journal, which she edited at the time that I worked with her. And they were being considered for review. And she was sifting through them and assigning books to reviewers. I remember Dr. G, my thesis advisor, explaining to us the behind the scenes of John Baugh's book, how he wrote it, and how she developed the ideas of the many, many books that she published in her academic career. My takeaway from this is that my company had to be founded on relationships. People are looking for trainings. So, of course, my training has to be stellar. But what people don't realize is that the way that they're going to change their professional lives is through the development of relationships, not through training or through teachings that they receive. So I'm going to give you an example to illustrate my point. During the year that I was a Spencer dissertation scholar, we had 2 in-person meetings of all the dissertation scholars. If I remember correctly, there was about 25 of us. And one of those meetings was at Spencer's headquarters in Chicago, and one was at the AERA, which is the American Educational Research Association, their annual conference, which was in San Francisco that year. So I have very vivid memories of those 2 in-person meetings. At the meetings, they provided us with trainings related to our professional development. Like, I'm sure they were stellar trainings. Like, I'm sure that there were people who were amazing who presented. But I cannot remember any of those trainings. What I remember are the people who I was grouped with. So what Spencer really got right in supporting the dissertation scholars was dividing us into groups, kind of roughly grouping us into similar areas, right? So I was with like language and literacy people, and I still remember the 5 or so all women who were in that group, and I still have relationships with them today. Shout out to Dr. Rebecca Black, who was a dissertation scholar with me. All of this context that I'm giving you is meant to help you understand that the most effective professional development is not about facts, figures, or strategies. It's not about how to use Pomodoros or even how to use Trello. Yes, I teach how to use Trello, but it's not about that. It's not about time management strategies. It's about building relationships. And those relationships are what's going to change you as a professional. So again, now it's been 3 years that my company, first it was just me offering coaching, writing coaching, and short courses on how to get your writing done. And now we are offering a very different model of professional development because I've seen how important this 3-pronged approach to professional development is. And so again, the formula that I feel we need for lasting career change is training, coaching, and community. So let me dig into each of these areas And I'm going to, of course, I will reference the programs that we have available that implement this three-pronged approach to professional development. So first, let's talk about training. So of course, training is what we think of. That's why that one-off webinar or one-off workshop idea seems appealing, because it seems like, oh, if we just could learn a secret or a skill, then we would be able to change the way we integrate writing into our careers, or we would be able to make decisions about our time that would help us feel less stressed or whatever. So in our programs, like, we are experienced academics and we're pretty darn good teachers. So we do trainings. We do live workshops. I have a recorded course called the Academic Women's Writing Roadmap that is opening for registration in May. And so we do training. Absolutely. Our trainings are different than other professional development trainings that you've taken before, because they were developed from a woman's perspective and they take into account the particular struggles of women in academia. Our trainings are not one size fits all. They are not directed to any academic. We have a very particular academic woman in mind when we are developing any workshop or training or course. And she is usually, see if this is you, she is usually a very high performing woman, a woman who has a lot of ambition, even if she might not want to own the word ambition, but she might want to own the word ambition. She has things to do. She has a message she needs to get out. She has a research agenda, and she feels the pressure of trying to perform at her highest level and bring out into the world what she really wants to bring. And at the same time, being pulled by a lot of different responsibilities. And many of those pulls come from professional asks. So committee work, student mentoring that she takes on probably more of than her colleagues. She might be so focused on her mission and what she wants to do in the world that she's not that great with systems and processes, or nobody's ever talked to her about developing systems and processes. And then she also has a lot of pull from in her personal life as well. So she probably takes care of other people, or if she's not taking care of somebody else, maybe she has her own health issues and she really needs to be caring for herself, but feels like she doesn't have time to do that in a way that is going to really make a difference. So that's the woman that we're talking to when we are developing trainings and we're communicating strategies. And really, the content of our programs comes from that story that you heard me tell of my professional trajectory. And there's a few things, like a few big takeaways from my professional trajectory that I try to translate into all of the training parts of our programs. One of them is that you have to have focus. And focus means you have to maybe focus. I use the word focus, but the other word I use is clarity. So you have to be very, very clear on what you want to do so that you can take action to doing it. And so in terms of my story, you heard me tell kind of my professional trajectory. I'll tell you the personal side of it a little bit. When I was there at Michigan State working in the English Language Center, I had a student in my class one summer whose name was Maria del Carmen Ortiz Colon. Hello, my beautiful sister-in-law. She's not my sister-in-law. I taught her. She had come to stay with her brother, who is now my husband. While he was doing his PhD at Michigan State, she came to take the English language program in the summer and then went back home. And through her, I met my husband, Guillermo, who was studying animal science at MSU and had just started his PhD program about 6 months before I met him. And as our relationship developed, parallel to that, right, my professional trajectory was being developed. And one of the things I'll remember always, and I tell this story, is that at some point when, our relationship had progressed to a certain level, Guillermo pretty much just said, I can't live in the United States. I have things to do in my home country, which is Puerto Rico. I want to influence my home institution. I want to work on agricultural problems in Puerto Rico. And so if we're going to stay together, then our next stop is going to be Puerto Rico. And so I remember booking tickets to go to Puerto Rico at Thanksgiving and loving it, just falling in love with his family, but also the rural community where he grew up and this really amazing, very linguistically rich place. And so much, cultural richness and music and physical landscape beauty and traditions, and just really loving Puerto Rico so much. And especially because all of my work had been on language and language teaching, and because of the colonial situation of English in Puerto Rico, I was like, this is what I want to study. I really want to focus on English language teaching in Puerto Rico in this colonial context. How do you kind of teach English in a way that isn't colonizing? Can that even be done? And so I made the decision from the beginning of my PhD program to focus on Puerto Rico and language teaching in Puerto Rico. And that focus helped me finish my PhD program quickly and with publications, and write a dissertation that, again, got me the Spencer Dissertation Award and set me up for my first set of publications. And set me up for my dream job, which was at the institution where Guillermo was also wanting to work. I actually got hired first. He came in and then got hired the year after I did. And so I feel like I can say that the reason that happened was, for me, it was engineered. And so in addition to focus, right, that focus of really understanding where I wanted to go and what the end goal for my PhD was, that focus has become a central part of what I teach inside of our programs. And so that I give people training on how to get that clarity and focus in their career and then how to use it. But also, an undercurrent underneath of that idea of clarity is control. And so once I came into the job at University of Puerto Rico at Mayagüez, I felt very out of control. I didn't know how to step into power and really direct my career. And I flipped and flopped for the first year. I flailed around. I got pregnant unexpectedly. So then I was flailing and also puking. And it was, I was like, what the heck? What did I get myself into? How am I going to have success in this career? And it really was my own belief that I can control my career. And really that came from flailing around. And then after having my baby, being forced to control my career. Like, she forced me to step into power and say, nope, here's the boundaries. No nights and weekends. Here's the boundaries. Hey, I can do this, but I can't do that. And I'm willing to do these projects and I'm not willing to do those projects over here. And so that control that I took of my career is also something that I teach inside of my programs, is really how do you take control? How do you become the director of your career, the driver of your career? So as you can see, I'm giving you all this personal information and backstory because that's what informs the trainings and the teachings that we do inside of our program. Okay, so I told you that great professional development has training, coaching, and community and focuses on relationships. So that's the training part. Again, I offer this particular perspective, which I hope I was able to articulate there pretty, relatively clearly, where my training comes from, how my training is informed. But the other two parts, the coaching and community, are really getting at that idea that we need to have relationship development as part of our professional development, that actually growth as a professional relies on the relationships that you build. So let's talk a little bit about coaching and how coaching is about relationships and how coaching affects your or influences and changes your professional trajectory. So one of the things I've been doing from the beginning is writing coaching. And I want to give a shout out to Yana Weinstein-Jones, who was, what do you call it in epidemiology? Like, case zero or whatever, like the very first person who gets, who gets the disease and then it spreads around. Well, Yana is patient zero for me. She was coaching person zero. She's the first person who said, "Hey, do you offer one-on-one coaching? I've been reading your blog. I've been seeing what you've been doing. And I'm interested in one-on-one coaching from you." I remember her having told me that she had reached out to somebody else and the other person had said, "No, I'm booked up. I'm not doing one-on-one coaching." So I just want to say thank you to the other person who said no because I got to coach Yana. And I loved it so much. And Yana and I still have a relationship, even though I've leaned into my writing coaching business. And now actually I don't even do one-on-one coaching outside of my programs. You have to sign up for a program to get one-on-one coaching with me. But her career has taken a completely different path. And yet we are still in relationship with each other. And we've met in person. She's come to every single writing retreat that I've ever done. And she's coming to this one that's happening in July as well. And we have a relationship born online, and maintained online. And anyway, that's because coaching is like you are in relationship with your coach. So let me explain kind of what coaching is. And anyway, that was just a shout out to Yana. So thank you. She helped me make this company happen by supporting me early on. So let me tell you what coaching is and how it's different from teaching and training, and then talk about the relationship between a client and a coach. So what is coaching anyway? And why are so many people talking about coaching? What does it really mean? So the difference between coaching and teaching is that teaching is looking to kind of pass information between one person and another. And student-centered teaching is really about pulling the students' work, like making teaching super relevant to students and pulling out, acknowledging what students already bring to the classroom and all of that. So yes, teaching is not just like the Friere, like we're critique, right, of just pouring like a pitcher of water. You open the student's head and pour information in. Traditional teaching can be like that, but transformational teaching isn't. But coaching is different in that what you're really trying to do as a coach is ask the right questions that lead people to figure out what they need to do themselves. So it's not about coaching is not about me and my experiences. Coaching is not about me teaching. It's about walking somebody through a process of transformation so that she can see that inside she actually knows the answers. She just needs maybe to have me help her pull out the right path for her to follow. When we do coaching in our programs, I would say it's like 75% coaching and 25% teaching, because people do like when I hire a coach, I want the coach to tell me some things to do. I want those things to be personalized for me. I don't want her to just be spitting out, rote formulas of what to do. I want her to consider me and my unique situation. But I do want advice. I'm looking for expertise, right? So in our programs right now, we have 3 coaches, myself, Rocio, and Gina. The 3 of us do all the coaching in the programs right now. And what we do in a typical coaching session would be to start the session and just ask the person what looks like help today, or, what can we do today that's going to help you the most. And then I hear what the person's struggling with, and then I ask a series of questions that's going to help me really understand the problem. And then I ask her what she's tried. I'll ask very directed questions to get her to kind of come to realizations about the problem and what she could do. And then I'll also be saying, like, have you tried this? What if you tried this? Okay, let's, like, one of the things I love to do in coaching is like reverse engineer stuff with people. Like, oh, you have this deadline out here. Let's like just back that up and talk about project managing this thing and map it out onto the calendar. And we can do that together. It's something that I can check her and say, like, are you sure it's going to take that long? You think you should leave a little longer? Or this is realistic, or this is not. And because what the client is doing is like talking to me about what she's up to and what her constraints are, like we basically can develop a plan of action together. And so what we're really trying to do in coaching is help somebody in a very personalized way. So coaching is a big part of all of our programs right now. And then the final part, but the most important part of all of our programs, and again, what I think most professional development gets wrong for academics is that there's no continuity, there's no follow-up, there's no community. And so the secret sauce in all of our programs is community. And we build this into our programs deliberately because there is such a lack of community in academia. Once we get out of our PhD cohort and get a tenure track job, it is really difficult to find community. Sometimes you can create bonds with the other people who come in kind of as a cohort with you into your university. Sometimes you can't. Academia can be super, super isolating. And so when you have community, here's the problems that community solves. The onus of implementing what you learned is not solely on you when you have a community to support you in implementation. So whereas you go to a one-time workshop, they teach you how to use Pomodoros to get your writing done, and then you go back home and you're like, this isn't working for me, or I can't find 25 minutes in my day to do a Pomodoro. When you have community, that problem is solved because you would just talk to your community about that. And they would say, and somebody would say, that happened to me too, and this is what I did. We also really strive in our programs to bring together women who are diverse, not just kind of our traditional, like we want to have our programs diverse culturally and racially and all the ways that people can be diverse, but also in terms of institution, type of position that you have, whether you're at a research one or whether you're at a teaching institution, all of that creates better communities in our experience. And that means that when you come to a community meeting, which in our programs, we have group coaching, we have a mastermind component to our Amplify program, but even just when you come to office hours, in any of my programs, you have community there. You have people who have like got your back and understand where you're coming from. So it really stops you from feeling isolated. It also provides you with a source of information that you wouldn't have been able to tap otherwise. And it eliminates this idea of like accountability. And I've talked about accountability before, and I feel like it's overused among academics. Like, I need accountability for my writing. I need accountability for this and that. And what people are really searching for is a community of people that hold similar values that they hold, so that as they are trying to achieve something, they have a community who is understanding them and supporting them. And then you don't need this very like blamey accountability system. So I want to get away from blame and guilt and, oh, if I don't check this box today, then I've failed, and really create environments where people feel supported so they don't need that. They're going to do their writing because they're going to touch base with their writing community again, and they're going to feel excited to be able to share that they got their writing done, or they're going to actually write in community, because that's something we do inside of our program. So we do co-writing. So we get together on Zoom and everybody writes at the same time. So that community aspect is what gives continuity to our programs and follow through. And that is the missing piece to so much professional development that often in academia is just one off. So what I think academia gets wrong about professional development is that they mostly offer one-off workshops and webinars. They focus on teaching a strategy or passing along some kind of information, but there's no follow through, there's no connection, there's no relationships, there's no community. And if you think back to your career so far and think back to those pivotal moments in the career, they will be moments in relationship with other people. So that community is super, super important for any kind of change that you want to make in your life. So let me tell you a little bit about our professional development programs and how they use training, coaching, and community to help you make a real change in your academic life. So I want to start with our flagship program, which is called Amplify, Faculty Writing Accelerator. Amplify is for pre-tenure women on the tenure track. And what we do in Amplify, it's a year-long program that, again, has training, coaching, and community. I have a 9-spoke framework for going up for tenure with confidence. Much of it is focused on writing because, of course, the biggest thing that we're usually worried about when we're trying to go up for tenure is the writing. So we teach a 9-spoke framework where we have trainings on each of the spokes. And then we also have coaching and community. And the way we do the community is through this very unique mastermind format where twice monthly you meet with a cohort and you cycle through people being in what we call the hot seat. So each week we have 4 hot seats, right? 2 in the first call, 2 in the second. And we're cycling through the cohort members. And when you're in the hot seat, you get to tap the collective wisdom of the group. You bring your problem or struggle to the group and you hear what they have to say. And those are really community building and exciting meetings to have. In addition to those mastermind calls, we have weekly office hours. So talking with a coach and getting help is never far away. And in addition to that, we have quarterly one-on-one calls. So 4 one-on-one coaching calls so that you are really progressing throughout the year. In the Amplify program, we also have a live event. And so we meet in person because, again, this is super important for community, that you meet these people you've been hanging out with online. And this last time, what we did in January was we met for a writing workshop at El Convento Hotel in Old San Juan. We had guest speakers come in. We did peer review groups and had really a wonderful time connecting and re-inspiring our writing. Amplify is a program that is a year-long program, and the reason is exactly like what I've been talking about. It's because it's not just a workshop that you take and then you go away and try to implement yourself and fail. It is support throughout the program. So you get access to tons of training, but you also get coaching and community. And it's a whole year long so that we're supporting you as you implement the things that you learn, because that's how lasting change really happens. If you would like to join Amplify, you can find the link to the application to join. It is an application-only program, and we screen people coming into the program for fit. So we need to make sure that it's a good fit for you. So I say that the program is for pre-tenure women on the tenure track, but if you are not on the tenure track and you are interested in the program, you should definitely apply. And we will have our 10-minute call with you and see if the kinds of problems that you're having are the kinds of problems that this program solves. So that's Amplify. We're also super excited that we have just launched a new program for post-tenure women, which is called Elevate. And the subtitle of Elevate is Up-Level Your Post-Tenure Career. Elevate is a 6-month coaching program that, again, follows very clearly this training, coaching, community model. We have 6 workshops. We have 6 one-on-one coaching calls and 6 group coaching calls during the program. So it's a very comprehensive 6-month program, and all that one-on-one coaching is really going to propel you to the next level in your post-tenure career. So if you are wanting to achieve big things post-tenure, if you know there's something else out there for you, but you're not quite sure either what it is or how to get it or both, then Elevate is for you. We already started our first cohort, but we will keep you posted as to when the next cohort will be forming. And then finally, last but not least, is what I call my signature program, and that is the Academic Women's Writing Roadmap. And that is a course. It is a recorded course that's 10 weeks long that teaches you how to make time to write. It teaches you writing systems, time management, project management, and how to set up a pipeline and keep it flowing and make a 1-year and 5-year plan for yourself. That program also has a community aspect to it, which is that we have a Facebook group as part of that program, and we do office hours inside of that Facebook group for people to ask their questions. And we develop community inside of that Facebook group. After the 10-week program is over, you get invited into the alumni Facebook group where you can continue to connect with that community. That program is happening. We always open it in May. So the first week of May, we'll be registering for that program. So if you are interested in that, then listen to the podcast. I'll be talking about it more as we ramp up. And I'll be doing some special trainings and webinars in April to get us ready for that program, including my signature webinar, which is called How to Write More Without Big Blocks of Time. And I'm also going to be redoing the summer writing planning webinar, which I did last year and was very successful. People were super excited about it. And we will also do the first week of May as part of the promotion for that course. We will do the summer writing challenge. And so the summer writing challenge, the summer writing webinar, which helps you plan your summer writing, and how to write more without big blocks of time are all free trainings that we do. So whether you enroll in the course or not, you can participate in those. And just, if you're in the I Should Be Writing Facebook group, if you're on my email list, you'll be getting information there. And I'll also be talking about them here on the podcast. So I hope that you're doing great. And I hope that you enjoyed this episode, which dug into kind of a little bit of the origin story to some of my programs and why we are such fanatics of training, coaching, and community as part of professional development for academic women.
Thank you so much for spending your valuable time loving on yourself and your writing by listening to this episode. If you'd like to continue the conversation, join the over 7,000 academic women in the I Should Be Writing Facebook group. Just go to facebook.com/groups/I Should Be Writing or search for I Should Be Writing inside your Facebook app. See you inside.